Dear friends in Bulgaria, my name is Rüdiger Dalke, and I want to talk to you again, address you after half a year. I talked then about the Corona crisis in the beginning, and now half a year later, we can make a resume of that and see what are our chances for the future. We have seen that the university medicine way of fighting the enemy, the virus, has till now brought no big effects. They make one shutdown after the other, so we are on the second now. They ruin, at least they damage heavily our economy. The second shutdown for Austria is almost a knockdown. We have even a curfew, like last time in Nazi regime, horrible situation. So it's really impressive what they try to do in their fight against the virus. But in medicine, we know, as we know in life, that we are living in a world of polarity, and there's always a second part, a second option. We know this for long times in our getting along with infections. There was already very long time ago in France this fight between Louis Pasteur. He was fighting the germs, the viruses, the bacteria, and there was on the other side a professor called Antoine Béchamp who said the virus and the germ is not the most important thing. The most important thing is the terrain, the field in which the virus or the bacteria is living. And there was another professor, Bertrand, said the same thing as Béchamp. But when he was in his last hours and about to die, Louis Pasteur confessed that his adversaries were right. The virus, the germ is nothing, and the terrain, the field, is everything. So this we have in medicine since long time. The only problem we have is the pharma industry, the big companies. They want, of course, fight the virus. So we have so much problems with this anxiety situation now. Breakdowns of people and breakdowns of small companies. So this is okay. So if the fear is going away for the majority, and if they believe in vaccination, they shall do this and be the first to try it. I would, after more than 40 years of being a doctor, I would never try new things from pharmacies, never. So if I look back, my way was quite blessed by not trying the new things from the pharmacy companies. So I wouldn't take part in this vaccination. And I would pray and hope that it's not such a disaster as it was in the pig flu situation. There they had a vaccination which made so many problems in Scandinavia, more than 700 people suffering till now from this narcolepsia, this falling asleep, just whatever you do. And there are more victims in the United States. They got this Guillain-Barré syndrome after this swine flu vaccination. And they got paralysis, very heavy paralysis, still suffering. If there are no problems with vaccination, I would ask, why has the US a $10 billion depot of money for those victims? So I'm very skeptical with this, but it's a good thing to diminish the anxieties, the fear, the panic attacks. So hopefully it's working well, and they should try it if they believe in this. Yeah, there are so many believers in this Corona story we were told today. If you look at it from a scientific viewpoint, you have the same situation as half a year ago, it's not so much more dangerous. It's like a heavy flu. In Germany, we had 3 years ago 3 times more death from the normal flu, influenza, type 1 and 2. And in 1968, we had even much more death, 4 times in this Hong Kong flu. And we had the most horrible pandemia with the Spanish flu 100 years ago. But from there, you can derive also a lot of hope, because there were 2 doctors who had a wonderful protection for their patients. And they, of course, didn't fight the virus. That's up to university medicine. But they did something for the immune system, making the terrain better, helping people to be stronger in their immune system, in their immune reaction to viruses. This was Maximilian Bircher-Benner, a great doctor in Switzerland. Maybe you know his muesli, Bircher muesli, we even call it today. He had for those days, very big hospital, was in charge of it, more than 150 beds there. And it was full with young soldiers with Spanish flu. And they died all over. There were more than 50 million deaths in the world, more than 25 million in Europe alone. But in the hospital of Bircher-Benner, nobody died. And we know this. It is really recorded. He brought them through it with fresh vegetable, fruit, whole organic food, like what I call peace food nowadays. And there's an even better example of how we can do that. This is Denmark. In Denmark, they had one very great doctor, Dr. Mikkel Hinhede, and he was in charge of the department who was consulted by the government and who he gave the advice what to do. Denmark was expecting a huge catastrophe of hunger in the First World War. And this Mikkel Hinhede told them to reduce the animal protein supplies. They sold more than 90% of the pigs and a lot of the cows and all this livestock. And they had no hunger catastrophe in 1917. And then came the year of the Spanish flu, 1918. And Denmark, still on this basis of organic, vegetable and fruit diet, it was in those days naturally organic. They had these big companies of nutrition who ruin our diets today. And they had not elevated lethality. So Denmark was the only country in Europe and most probably in the world where not more people died than in other years by this plant-based organic diet. So we could learn from this and we could do this. And I did this decades ago. More than 50 years, I didn't eat any meat anymore and never liked milk and milk products and didn't eat eggs. That's what I call peace food, plant-based organic food. And I can tell you personally, since 40 years, I'm sure I did never take part in a flu wave, a flu epidemic. And people around me who live the same lifestyle have the same experience. We don't take part in these flu waves. And you need not do that. There's so many hope. And I started with this small book about protection against infection, boosting the immune system. I thank Къде, my book edition company in Bulgaria, that they directly translated it and published it for you. I wrote it in 8 days and 7 nights. I can do things like this sometimes. And this book helped a lot of people in German-speaking countries, but I hope also in Bulgaria, because Kibera was so fast by publishing it. And there's almost 100 possibilities to boost your immune system. And they are based by studies, well accepted studies. So many chances. We know this now if you look back at the pandemic. When I told you half a year ago, we had no studies about COVID-19, but now we know. Now we know that if you had a vitamin D level more than 50 nanomole in a liter, then you had no symptoms. Maybe you got this virus, but you had no symptoms or very, very light symptoms. But if your level of vitamin D was going down and you had less than 50 nanomole, the symptoms became more heavy. And those people who died had very little vitamin D or hormone D because the sun can build it in our skin. Now we know the same thing about vitamin C, about this vitamin A, which is modulating the immune situation in your body, in your system. So we now know a lot more. And all this backed this natural, plant-based and nature-based ways. So if you go to the forest, we have scientific data from Japan that it's very, very much boosting your natural killer cells. And those are the cells you need for your immune system fighting viruses, because these macrophages, they kill the cells which have integrated the viruses. Today, we know much more. And it's not only the forest. If you go barefoot, you will get enough antioxidants. And this is very helpful in this situation. And there are so many plants you can use, and which are so helpful in this situation. I'm very happy that you have this book now. I would wish so many other countries would have done the same thing like Iberia, like Italy or Spain or Brazil, where they are suffering really much more than we do. So you have the two things, and you need not choose between them. You can even wait for the vaccination. I just would recommend, from my more than 40 years of being a doctor, don't be the first, so that you avoid the disaster of the swine flu vaccination. And it's no problem if they do that, and a lot of people take part, and all this producing anxiety, panic, and fear is coming down. Perfect for me. But I would, in any case, recommend you boosting your immune system and bring up the fighting power of your body against viruses, bacteria, and all this stuff. I think the most important thing is you make your decision for yourself. Don't wait for the state. I have no trust no more after this pandemic. I mean, the theater, I would even call this. The way they misused numbers to make panic, it was ridiculous. And I posted a lot of data about this. But okay, they want to have this panic and bring people in the situation so people follow them even more easy. And so we can't change this. What we can change is our situation. And this I would really, really recommend you. Don't go into this fear thing. 99%, a percentage of 99 is not in a situation to get this. And those who can get it, who are in these risk groups, they could easily step out of this. And again, the same recommendation. Do a fasting week, change your lifestyle, your diet, bring up your immune system, and you will need not be afraid of this. I'm 69 now, and so in my 70th year. So I would be in a risk group. But since I have not these risk things. I'm not overweight. I don't smoke. I don't have diabetes too, and no high blood pressure. All these things you can leave behind. And the first thing would be, from my recommendation, do a fasting week. Next spring, we will do one in English. So maybe a lot of you can take part in it. When I was the last 2 times in Bulgaria, I thought a lot of people speak quite well enough English to follow an English session about fasting, but you can start it right away now. And it's very easy. And afterwards, you change your diet in the direction of peace food and step out of this danger zone. This is possible. And of course, you can, like I tried to train you, or trained some doctors also in Bulgaria. Last time I was there for a little bit more than a week even, and Sofia and Varna. So hopefully there are some working with this. You can just look at the psychosomatic dimension of the whole thing. Of course, this is, in inflammation, it's always a fight between body and germs. And so this is an aggression problem. And if you look at the good side of aggression, this is courage, decision-making, being awake, fighting for your interests, things like this. I put this down in disease as a symbol. So you have a lot of chances. And what is our perspective for the future? Do you believe that if we let these politicians do as they do now, that we can survive only on a basis with pharma companies and vaccination companies? Who believe this? We need an alternative way. And this way is boosting our immune system, protecting us from the inside against these germs, against these viruses and bacteria. It's a quite easy way, and it's very, very well tasting. I never ate so good, so well since before I did this peace food way. And you have so wonderful possibilities. In Sofia, it was really fun to go eating to Soul Kitchen. I still remember this. It's a wonderful place to have vegan food. So you can change things for you. And if you become more and more and more, and people take up this book, Protection Against Infection, there will be no third, fourth wave. But otherwise, I have to tell you, this virus will change like all viruses. We will have COVID 20, 21, 22, 23, and I think we even have it already, because now also younger people get infected and ill. We didn't have this in the first wave. And there's the experience they make in Norwegia and in the Netherlands. They killed hundreds, thousands of these small animals, make from their fur, they make coats and things like this. Nerz, we call it in German. I don't know the English word. The viruses in those animals changed and got back to human beings. So this virus will change. We will have to live with this virus, but this will be no problem if you boost your immune system. And I don't see another way, frankly speaking, because we need our economy. And as a doctor, I'm not so educated with economic things, but this is now very easy to see. We can't go on like this. So we have to adopt a second strategy. And this doesn't disturb the first one. If you believe in vaccination, you can have a vaccination. I think for COVID-19, you need one every year or even more often, because the coronaviruses will change like the influenza viruses did. That's why the best known professor for infections epidemiology, Professor Rüdigher Dalke in Germany, he warned before they brought out the swine flu vaccination. And he is warning now because he doesn't believe in the capacity of this COVID-19 vaccination. So whatever, let them do it. Hopefully it brings down all the fear and the anxiety. But in any case, look at the second column and bring your immune system in a situation where you need not be afraid of wave number 3, 4, 5. They will produce this as they want. Of course, you can make the same theater installations every spring, every autumn, whole year, but we can't exist with this. We have to look for other choice, and we have it. We have it in complementary medicine. This is the best. We don't need an alternative because they can produce the vaccination. We'll see what's coming out. I will not be with the first who accept this for myself. But if people are courageous enough and uneducated enough to believe in this, they can do that, of course, and we'll see what's coming out. I hope it's coming out well. And it must come out much, much better than swine flu, because they had to stop this in the US. They stopped it in Germany. The whole population working in hospitals didn't accept it anymore because they saw these side effects and the damage which was done with this. So hopefully it went better this time. And my biggest hope is you change your lifestyle. You change your diet. I think this is what we have to do anyway. And with Bulgarian people, which great success I had there with my lectures and seminars, I think there are enough people to change this. And if you get more, the majority, there will be no flu wave no more. That's my greatest hope. So I wish you the very best and look forward to come again to Bulgaria sometime, if we are allowed again to fly and to travel, and hopefully without any problems anymore. I hope they don't blackmail us, that they force us to have a vaccination before we are allowed to do things like this. There are some tendencies, and hopefully we get along without that. And we could, if you change your lifestyle by the millions and even more. Why not over Europe or the whole world, getting more healthy, a stronger immune system, a better protection? That's what I wish you so very much. Thank you. And have a good Christmas, good time, in spite of the situation and this crisis. Look into your inside, you will see that you don't have a problem. Problem is outside, and we can solve it. You can solve it with your decision. Okay, bye. Thank you.